Hello, it's the Culture Genie, and the topic of today is going to be the diversity that exists in Islam. That is to say, we will be discussing that Islam is a much more complex religion than you might think, in terms of groups that exist within it. When a lot of people, but not all, think about Islam, they usually envision Islam as being a unified religion with only one interpretation, or maybe two, a Shia and a Sunni interpretation. However, the reality is much more complex. There are almost as many variants of what could be called Islam as there are types of what could be called Christianity. Thus, the diversity and range of interpretations is huge. This video is not about discussing what is true Islam or what a true interpretation is, but rather discussing the fact that there exists a lot of interpretations in what is called Islam. You might be familiar with the split between Sunnis and Shia Islam, which was a schism caused due to disagreements about who would be the leader of the faith after the death of Prophet Muhammad. Shia being the ones that supported Ali ibn Abi Talib and his descendants as being the rightful heirs to being the leaders of the faith. That's why they're called Shi'atu Ali or Ahl al-Bayt, the party of Ali and his descendants. And the Sunnis get their name from Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ati, which is the people of the Sunnah or the tradition of Muhammad and the consensus. But there is actually a third branch of Islam that also diverged very early during these conflicts about who would lead Islam, and that is Ibadi Islam, which is mainly practiced in modern-day Oman, that originated from a group known as the Khawarij, those that went out, who split off also in the early stages, rejecting both the previous caliphs there who had been free this time and Ali when they grew disappointed in him. These are the old mainline groups within Islam that have further subdivisions, but there also exist more modern groups that have sprung up and evolved, such as the Ahmadiyya or the Quranist Muslims, the later being Muslims that only focus on the Quran and don't concern themselves with other things outside of it. There exist a lot of new interpretations of Islam that I'm not going to go into any detail in this video about. And maybe I will do a video about in the future. And of course there also exists a lot of extinct groups, such as the Mu'tazila movement, that could be considered a subset of Sunni Islam or an independent branch. They were very important historically, but are pretty much extinct, except for some modern revival attempts trying to bring it back. But it died out in the Middle Ages. But let us refocus on the main lines of Islam, such as Sunni Islam and Shia Islam. And let us focus on the fact that there are a lot of diversity in these groups, internal diversity of interpretations. Sunni Islam, which contains about 90% of all Muslims, can be divided into 4 schools with regards to fiqh, or legal jurisprudence and rules governing how you as a believer should act and which rules should govern society. The 4 schools are the Hanafi school, founded by Abu Hanifa al-Nu'man, the Maliki school, founded by Malik ibn Anas, the Shafi'i school, founded by Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, the Hanbali school, founded by Ahmed ibn Hanbal, and there is also a 5th school that is among the traditional schools, but it's almost extinct. It's the Zahiri school, founded by Dawood al-Zahiri. Any Sunni Muslim will belong to one of these schools of fiqh. But in addition to belonging to one of these, they will also belong probably to one of the traditions with regards to theology or aqidah that also exists within Sunni Islam. And there exists 3 mainline schools of theology. The first is the Ash'ari school of theology, founded by Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari. And then there is the Maturidi school, founded by Abu Manzur al-Maturidi. And lastly, there is the Athari school, which is not so much a school such as a broad collection of various schools of thought connected to literalist interpretation. Athari meaning remnant or footsteps. And these schools of theology, aqidah and fiqh combined to create various subgroups within Sunni Islam. Now, of course, certain traditions of fiqh and aqidah are more closely related to each other. For example, Maturidi, the founder of the Maturidi school, was a follower of the Hanafi fiqh tradition. And the Athari tradition is very closely connected to both the Dahiri and the Hanbali tradition. But you could have a Muslim that is a follower of the Shafi'i fiqh tradition, but is either a follower of the Ash'ari theology or a follower of the literalist Athari traditions. So as you can imagine, within Sunni Islam there existed a lot of various interpretations and versions of Sunni Islam, just with the various combinations between both theology and jurisprudence traditions. These various differences has been the sources for many conflicts, both in the past and in the present, within Sunni Islam, as various political entities throughout Middle Eastern history have used various interpretations of Islam as their official religion and tried to impose it. For example, there used to be conflict between followers of both Maturidi and Hanafi against followers of Shafi'i and Ash'ari. For example, in the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire, that was Maturidi in theology and Hanafi in fiqh, tried to impose its religious ideology upon Syria, which was the area that they recently had conquered. And Syria was dominated by Shafi'i Ash'ari Sunnis. They didn't succeed, but there was a conflict there. And even earlier there was conflicts between the Umayyad Caliphate and the Abbasid Caliphate that took the form in conflicts between the Maliki school of fiqh versus the Hanafi school of fiqh. And today you have certain conflicts that are justified using various differences in theology and jurisprudence between various Sunni groups. You might have heard terms such as Salafi and Wahhabi in relation to certain Sunni Islamic groups. The term Salafi refers to Salaf or Aslaf, forefathers, and its term more or less just means traditional, as the forefathers that are referred here are the first 3 generations around Muhammad, and you are supposed to follow their example. Salafis are usually connected to the Athari tradition, together with the Hanbali school of fiqh. But they mustn't necessarily always be that, as the term is actually a lot more broader and could just be translated as traditionalist, kind of. It is not its own theological or jurisprudence school. Wahhabi is a term used to refer to followers of Abdul al-Wahhab, who was a strict follower of the Hanbali school of jurisprudence. Now, this is Sunni Islam, but let's turn to Shia Islam. As you can see on this chart, Shia Islam has a lot of subdivisions that are below here. And the Shias, unlike the Sunnis, require the leader of the faith of being from the line of Ali up here. And since the Shia has the belief that the line must come from Ali, that meant that they also had a lot of struggles between each other on who was the correct heir to the legacy of Ali. And thus you can see these various offshoots of Shiism, which starts as kind of a split off due to who should inherit the right of being the ruler of the faith and the determiner of the theology, into schisms between these various sects. And this happens several times, as you can see here. Some of these Shia sects, like the Kaysani that split up very early, are extinct, but they were actually pretty important in early Islam. But they have died out and does not exist as a living sect anymore. And then you have the Zaydi Shia group. These are actually present very much in Yemen and are actually the main faith of the Houthis, who you might have heard about on the news as a group that is fighting in the Yemeni civil war. Then you can see to the side of the Zaydi sect, you can see the Twelvers, which are called as such due to them having 12 caliphs or imams in the line of succession, including Ali. And they are the group that exists mainly in Iran and Iraq. And they are the most numerous of Shia groups currently. But they're not the only one, as you can see. Next, we have the Seveners, which are pretty much extinct, but they were in the past pretty relevant because they were the source of a group that were called the Karamita, and they were famous for being pretty extreme. The Seveners are also interesting because they are the first of the Ismaili sects, and the Ismaili sects are the sects that descend from Ismail here and all of his later children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. The Seveners are called the Seveners because they stopped at the number 7. But there were those that continued down from Ismail here. And as you can see, it goes down until you have Al-Hakim. And I've actually made a video about Al-Hakim bi Amrillah, which you can see in the description, the link to. And he is the forefather of all the other sects when they begin to split off into various directions after him. You also have among the Ismaili sects the Druze, which might not even be considered within Shia Islam anymore, but this is controversial, and I'm not saying that they are or are not, because that's not the purpose of this video. But you also have a continuation from the Ismailis through Al-Mustansi to Nizar here, which are the Nizaris. They actually still exist and still counts their line of succession to this day. And you also have various other types of Ismaili subsects here. Then you have this last one, the Fathi, which is not Ismaili, but kind of grew into it later. And just like the Sunnis, these various groups have also various traditions of jurisprudence, of fiqh. Like the Twelvers have the Jafari school. But Shia Islam is so diverse, I will just say that there exists also a lot of other subdivisions here than just the ones that you see here. One important thing to note about the Shia sects is that unlike the various Sunni subdivisions that have mostly the same religious secondary literature, such as the Hadith and Sirah, these are completely different for each Shia sect. Now, going on to another type of Islam that you might have heard about, and that is Sufism. Sufism is actually not a type of Islam, it's just Islamic mysticism, and exists both within Sunni traditions and within Shia traditions. Thus, it is not its own branch, though you could say that it's a different type of worship. But Sufism does not indicate a different theology or a different type of jurisprudence. Now, I'm actually just discussing theology and jurisprudence in itself, but there are also degrees of how much you want these to actually affect society. So there is a dimension of application as well here. Not all Muslims are Islamists that want there to be an official state religion where religious beliefs are imposed upon others. But of course there also exist those that want to impose their beliefs upon others. The truth of the matter is that there is a large breadth of opinions within these various sects and groups with regards to, for example, issues of secularization or how to deal with the modern world. And there also exist modern movements within Islam that are trying to, modernize certain things and bring it more into line with modernity. Because remember, Islam as a religion appeared during the 7th century. And most of the theological schools and schools of jurisprudence appeared during the 8th to the 10th century. At least what regards the traditional schools. And these schools have of course also evolved through time. So they are not the same always as what they were in the past, though there exists continuity between them. So even though medieval scholars might have said something and belong to the same school as a modern scholar of the same school, they will probably not be exactly identical in their own interpretations. Of course, there are also, personal interpretations. And lastly, you also have a lot of local customs that bleed into what is locally practiced as Islam. Even the same types of on paper forms of Islam can vary widely due to being practiced in different parts of the world. Local traditions and local customs can affect the interpretations of certain things, such as verses in the Quran or other matters related to the religion. It should also be noted that the majority of Muslims are in fact not Arabs either and don't live in the Arab world. Most actually live in Southeastern Asia and have a lot of very different cultural traditions that also affect interpretation. What I wanted to show with this video is that Islam is very broad as a religion and contains a lot of various groups. And it's important to have this in your mind when you hear discussions about Islam, as these various groups and various subdivisions within Islam can be very varied and very different from each other. Just like in Christianity. You would not want to discuss the Ethiopic Orthodox Church as being the same as a Protestant church or the Catholic Church, or one being responsible for the other, with regards to interpretations and various actions. Generalizing about Islam, rather than specific groups, is very hard to do. For example, saying that Islam is a religion of peace, as there exist so many variants of Islam that you really have to discuss each individual sect or group. And you can't generalize them all, usually, except some very basic things, such as believing that the Quran is sent down from God, as the Quran is pretty much the only thing that unifies these various groups. And the more violent elements of these groups usually hate each other just as much as they hate non-Muslims, because they don't consider each other true believers. Thank you, my listeners and viewers, for viewing this video. I hope that you have found the video interesting and useful, and that you learned something about the great variety of groups that exists within the religion of Islam. Please leave comments if you have any questions about some of these sects. I do have a background in history that makes me have some insight in some of these, as they were historically important. And please push the like button. Please do subscribe, as it would help the channel spread awareness about the humanities. اشترك بالقناة من فضلكم.